Hello, I'm Rob Phillips. Welcome to my channel where I help you live a more balanced and present life through yoga and meditation. So for today, we're going to be doing a 45-minute Yin Yoga sequence that's going to be all about balancing and calming our nervous system. You know, more than ever these days, we're constantly stimulated, we have emails, notifications, things like that. So it's really a rare opportunity that we get to let our nervous system rest, to let ourselves calm down and truly restore. And so I designed the sequence with that idea in mind, and I think it'll be just the ticket if you are feeling at all stressed, if you are feeling at all anxious or things like that. Now, in terms of props, I am going to be using a bolster for today. Now, I know not everyone's going to have a yoga bolster available. No problem. You can use some pillows from your bed. You could use a couch cushion, really whatever you have lying around, just to give you a little bit of extra padding. And I'm also going to be using a blanket to lift up the hips and give us a bit of padding that way as well. Finally, as always, if you enjoy this video, please consider giving me a like and consider subscribing to my channel because I'll be coming out with new practices each and every week. With all that out of the way, though, let's find our way onto our back to get started today. So once you've made your way onto your back here, I'm going to recommend grabbing your bolster, or again, you could roll up a blanket for this, but I want you to slide the prop behind the bend of the knees here so that you get a little bit of lift, a little bit of extra support as you extend your legs long. Open the arms out a little bit wide, or you could also have your hands onto your low belly here. But once you've got this position in place, close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, start to feel yourself settle. Start to really feel yourself land right here where you are. So much of this work that we're going to be practicing and exploring today really comes from the idea of giving ourselves permission to just be still. As I said in the introduction, and as I'm sure we all know, so much of our lives we're trying to get here and there. We're responding to things, reacting to things. There's, of course, a time and a place for that, but if that's all we do, we're really missing out on an opportunity and kind of a necessary factor here of letting ourselves slow down, letting ourselves really relax. So through most of the practice, we're going to be doing a more or less passive breath. We're just going to kind of let the breath be, but to really jumpstart things here, let's do 3 nice deep breaths to help us really relax, to help us really let go. So please take a nice deep inhale breath through your nose, really fill the belly. Open up your mouth and exhale. Let everything go. Feel that wave of calm wash over you. Again here, take a nice deep inhale. Fill the belly, the ribs. Open up your mouth to exhale and let it go. One last time, nice deep inhale through the nose. Open up your mouth, exhale, and let that go. And feel the effects just that simple practice may have had to bringing you to a greater place of calm, of bringing you to a greater sense of ease. I will guide us through that same breath practice a few times today, but keep in mind you can do that really whenever you want. If you need a little moment to reset, if you just want to kind of clear things through. Otherwise, having laid here for a few minutes now, start to notice, is there any tension in the body that you're still holding on to that you might be able to let go of, that you might be able to release and surrender? Feel that start to melt away. Feel that start to settle more and more here. There may be some busyness still left in the mind, and that's normal. Again, that's kind of a byproduct of our busy lifestyles that I talked about. Rather than feeling like you need to fight that, rather than feeling that's something we need to stop, just let it be for now. Let the thoughts kind of simmer down naturally on their own. And as kind of a simple way to help ground the mind, just notice the breath. Notice that rise and fall. Let that be a bit of an anchor for the mind. Let that be a bit of a home base here. And as we settle here on our backs like this for just another minute or so, see if there's anything at all that you can let go of in terms of the body. See if there's anything at all that you could let go of in terms of your mind. Again, embracing this rare opportunity to really be still, to really slow down, and just be here. Start to get a real sense of what that feels like. One more time, just before we leave the simple supine pose, let's take gentle inhale breath through the nose. Gentle exhale breath out our mouth. From here, we're going to stay on our back, and you're welcome to open your eyes for a moment here just to help transition. So we're going to slide the bolster out from underneath us, or whatever props you were using out from underneath you, and just kind of place it somewhere near the side of the mat. We'll be coming back to that in a little while. But first, just kind of lie down for a few seconds, feel everything settle. Even though it was a really simple pose, just laying over that bolster will have had some effect on the body. But from here, staying on our back, we're going to come into what we call stirrup pose in Yin Yoga. You might have heard this called happy baby pose in most other yoga classes. So to set up, let's take our time here and holding one knee in each hand as you start, taking the knees a little bit wider. And even if you think you're going to want to go further with this, start here. Let that be kind of your first expression of this. Setting up my timer here, give me a moment. So relax through the shoulders, relax into the belly. And remember, we're not so much like pulling on the legs, it's just letting the arms relax. Letting ourselves kind of ease into it so that gravity does all of the work for us. And so some of you may prefer just to stay holding on to the knees. Some of you might want a little bit more juice out of this, in which case I'm going to recommend reaching up and holding on to the feet. And again, you're not like yanking, you're not pulling here. You're just kind of letting the hands hold on to the knees, or the feet rather. And naturally, the weight will take you down towards the floor. Now, from here, as we start to get into more kind of specific poses that might have a little more direct effect on the body, remembering our number one kind of principle, number one guide as we do this sort of work, is to come into each pose at an appropriate edge of sensation. So an appropriate edge means we're welcome to feel sensation in the body, and not even every sensation we feel will necessarily be easy per se. But no sensation should ever be painful. No sensation should ever be sharp or intense. If things do flare up, if things do become at all painful, please respect that feedback and exit the pose or adjust the pose until you no longer feel that sensation. But if things feel okay here, we can notice some effect, we can tell we're doing some work, but nothing's intense. Nothing's anywhere near the threshold of pain. In that case, give yourself permission to relax. Give yourself permission to really settle here. And trust that by being still in these poses, by lingering and really taking our time as we do here, you're giving yourself just the dose of kind of calm that you'll need to help the nervous system rebalance, to help yourself calm through any anxiety or tension that you may be holding on to. And remembering, especially as we first settle in here, if there is still some restlessness, some busyness in the mind, you can always notice the breathing. Just feel that kind of rhythm within the body as a way to stay focused, as a way to feel something in this present moment other than your thoughts. Otherwise, though, for here, let's settle for just a short while more. Just a few more slow breaths, really. Take a final complete breath right here where you are. And slowly on an exhale breath, you can release the feet. Extend the legs all the way onto the floor. You might want to just kind of roll them around in the hip joint a little bit and feel that bit of release. Feel that bit of space that you've opened up. So I'm practicing in a relatively tight space, as you can see. So my arms are a little close by my side, but if you have room to spread out a bit, I'd actually recommend doing that. And of course, if you don't have space, as I'm proving here, you can work with that. You don't need a big, kind of beautiful studio to do this sort of practice. Really just a mat space is all we really need. As you settle here, notice the various after effects of the pose. Notice that resonance in the body, and maybe start to feel a certain resonance forming within your mind too. Let's settle here for just a few more moments. From here now, we're going to come up off our back, so you can walk the feet in. And as you come up, you might want to move a little bit. And remembering, even though this is like a slow moving practice, sometimes little bursts of movement can be valuable, can be beneficial. So we'll slowly roll our way over onto our sides. And from our sides, we can gently press ourselves upright. So from here, we're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to set up into a wide-kneed version of our child's pose. So to set this up, I recommend using a blanket just to pad the knees. And keep in mind, if you don't have a blanket, you're always welcome to turn your mat sideways and just kind of, work that way. But the idea would be to get your blanket a little bit wider than your knees so that you have a bit of padding, you have a bit of cushion. As you sit back towards the feet, as you separate the knees wide enough here that you feel a bit of stretch, a bit of release on the inner thighs. You're welcome to slide blanket or padding under the front of the ankles if you feel strong pressure there. Now, I'm going to demo this pose just kind of walking straight forwards, but keep in mind if you have a bolster or a pillow, you're also welcome to lean into it that way. So take your time and figure out how you'd like to do this. Once you're ready, walk the chest forwards. Feel the hips as they gradually release back. Close your eyes. And really begin to settle here. In effect, this posture is almost like we took the stirrup pose we were just doing on our back and kind of flipped it upside down. So still kind of targeting the inner thighs, maybe a little bit into the outer hips. But here gravity is kind of working in the different direction. Rather than pulling the legs towards the floor, it's actually pulling the torso and the hips towards the floor relative to the legs. So just notice that kind of subtle distinction between the two. Again, it's okay to feel some effects here. The pose doesn't need to feel easy per se, but should not be strenuous, should not be kind of sharp. Make sure you can really settle here. Make sure you can really relax here. And as you do settle, again, notice how that feels in the body. Notice the movements of your breath. Notice what happens when we give ourselves this chance to just slow down. There's no place that we need to be right now. There's nothing we need to take care of or even make happen. Exploring this opportunity to simply be in our bodies. And by simply being, by just kind of trusting in this gradual process, we can get that opportunity to let the nervous system naturally rebalance, to let the body naturally rebalance, kind of a mini self-retreat through this short Yin Yoga practice. Take a final complete breath right where you are here. Slowly start to find your way out and make your way forwards towards your belly. But as you transition here, before you come down, you can clear out your blanket and grab your bolster or, again, pillows, whatever you're working with here, and set that up right into the middle of your mat. With that set up, rest it so that your pelvis is lifted away from the floor and the chest now drops down towards the earth. Close the eyes and let yourself linger here. This is going to be both a transition pose, but also kind of a posture in and of itself. Now, it's worth mentioning that hopefully this feels good for most of us, but if this is like too much pressure on your lower back, if you feel like the hips are too high, you can skip this, or you can just lie like this, maybe with a blanket, something a little thinner underneath you. But assuming this feels okay, again, relax the body. Feel that contact with the earth beneath you. Let yourself really slow down here. Let yourself really be still and notice what happens as you do so. Notice what happens as you give yourself permission to just be. Here again, now let's take gentle inhale breath through the nose. Gentle exhale breath out the mouth. Take your time and slowly lift up off your bolster or whatever prop you happen to be using, and just slide it kind of alongside your mat for now. Rest onto the belly. Take a few slow breaths. And again, just feel whatever effects that pose may have had for you. Here now on our belly, we're going to sit up into a sphinx shape. So rising up onto the forearms, lifting a bit into the chest. This is a mild back bending pose. So mild is, of course, the key word in that instruction. We want to feel just a little bit of pressure onto the back, a little bit of pressure or pull onto the shoulders, but nothing at all intense, nothing at all strenuous. You're even welcome to rest your forehead onto a block or onto a bolster if you want a little bit of reinforcement. And of course, if this does become at all too much, please exit the pose and you can just sit tight for the next couple minutes. Now, this pose in particular is really one of the few where we're directly targeting our nervous system, so to speak. So, of course, spinal column runs down the middle of our back and connects directly to our brains, but through the spinal column, all of the nerves through our whole body have a pathway back through the spine into the brain. And even in classical yoga systems and Chinese medicine, they kind of recognize this central channel, central kind of conduit of energy through the body that is the spine. So very important to kind of stimulate there carefully from time to time. And to do poses like this one where we can release tension that we may be holding there. Again, tension around our spine is kind of a direct translation to tension in the nervous system in general. But beyond the kind of technical aspect of this, all we need to do is relax into the pose. All we need to do is really let ourselves settle and be still here. What can you let go of within the body? What can you let go of within the mind? What's it like to just be here with things simply as they are? Feel that here for just a few more moments. Just a few more deep breaths. Take a final complete breath right here where you are. Slowly, as you exhale, you can lower all the way down to the floor. And here on the floor, I invite you to take a few deep breaths into the chest, into the lower back, really through all the areas that we were just targeting. Again, really kind of moving some breath through the central channel of our nervous system. From here, we'll use our hands and gently press our hips back, coming into a child's pose with our knees a little bit closer. And we're only going to be here for a few breaths, really, but really important, I think, to do a bit of a counter pose after that longer back bend that is Sphinx shape. And from here, we'll make our way upright, coming into a seated position. So as you sit up into your seat, I will recommend for most folks to sit up on a blanket. I think having that height under the hips is a good idea, and it's just, a little bit more comfortable that way too. We're going to be doing a wide-legged pose, so it can be nice to turn sideways on your mat, basically as I'm doing here. And I'm also going to recommend grabbing a hold of your bolster or whatever props you're using so that you can give yourself a little bit of reinforcement, give yourself a little bit of extra padding for this. So once you're ready to go here, you're going to separate the legs relatively wide, and of course this can vary from person to person, but wide enough that you feel a bit of effect happening onto that inner line of the legs. Letting the legs relax here, and keeping in mind if you're very tight, it might just be a practice of sitting here. There might be no need to go further. But for those of us who do have enough mobility here to lean in, you can lean in, of course, straight like this, but if you have a bolster, you can lay over the top of it. Can even kind of lay into it like a column. That works better with a proper yoga bolster than it does with like pillows, but that is something to consider. Can also turn it sideways and kind of lean into it like this, which is actually what I think I'm going to do. So the bolster just gives us a little bit of reinforcement, helps us to kind of control our descent. So remembering it's not some race to get as close to the floor as possible. This is all a practice of exploring kind of various effects on our body from the poses. Another thing to consider is the lower back may still feel a little sensitive having just done that Sphinx pose, so maybe start really gradually here, and if you do feel a little pressure in the lower back, work carefully with that. Here now, tuning in. Here now, noticing and observing just what it feels like to be here in your body, in this moment. Understanding that the less we try to control things, the more we just let ourselves be in a natural state, the easier it will be for the nervous system to restore itself. The easier it is to activate the relaxation response or parasympathetic nervous system. Most of us can benefit from this time spent. And again, I encourage you to appreciate this opportunity to do this deep and subtle work. Continue to tune in to your experience, and remember the breath can be a great home base, can be a great resting point to keep the mind a little more focused here. Now, of course, it may be that you're exactly where you need to be, but at the same time, there's no need to hold back. If things open up and you shift further into the pose, we can explore that. If you find the opposite effect and it makes sense to back out, again, do so. Trust your intuition. But if all feels well here, let's take just another minute or so to tune in, to connect and observe. To let the body and mind just be. To let them naturally rebalance from this deep and subtle work that we're doing. And please take just a final complete breath right here where you are. Slowly from there, begin to inhale and roll up away from the floor. And as you roll up, it might feel nice just to relax the shoulders and relax your legs a bit. And we can slide our bolster aside and let's scoop our legs in and let's find our way onto our back again. Now, as you first lie down, you might appreciate just kind of hugging the knees in, giving yourself a little squeeze, almost like that stirrup pose that we started with, but with the knees closer, you'll get a little more rounding in the spine, which personally I think feels really nice after a deep, long forward fold like we just did. And take just a few breaths right here. Slowly extend the legs onto the floor, and it's not quite final Shavasana time, but getting like a little preview of what that will feel like in a few minutes when we get there. But for now, just kind of lying down and taking a few moments, taking a few breaths to be here. So from here, we're going to set up for a pair of twists, and I'm going to demo it with a bolster, and of course you can use whatever props you have to set this up. If for whatever reason your props don't work out well for this, you can do any similar twist. It's a fairly simple, just rotational pose. So consider that here as we set up. We're going to start by drawing our left leg up and rolling our way over onto our side so that you can now drape your leg over your prop that you're using here. So I will say here, as you set this up, you're welcome to stay really just exactly as I am here, kind of lying onto it. Or you can begin to add a bit more rotation by opening the left shoulder out and just kind of wringing things out. And within that basic structure, you're welcome to adjust this. You're welcome to fine-tune this in any way that suits your body. Generally, keep it pretty mild here. Make sure what you're feeling in the body feels like it's restoring you more than it's just kind of working you too hard. Now that you're here, there's nowhere that you need to get. Nothing that we're trying to make happen other than simply being. What's it like to just rest in your experience? What's it like to completely let go? Take a final complete breath right here. Slowly unroll yourself and make your way onto your back. And take just a few moments there. Let yourself settle there for a few seconds. Feel as everything neutralizes after that easy twist. And of course, we'll do the second side, so you can rearrange any props that you're using, bolsters, pillows, take them over to the right. And again, you're welcome to do this without the props if you find they're not actually helping you so much in it. But I'm going to demo here. So you're going to roll over onto the right, you're rolling over to your left and resting your right leg on top of that bolster. And like I said, you could just lay like this on your side. This is actually a really valuable pose in and of itself. Or if it feels right, you can start to open the right shoulder out onto the floor. Again, you can arrange the arms however feels right. Make sure this feels good. Just a nice release for the side body, just a nice release for your lower back. It's our final pose of the main sequence, so really embrace this opportunity to let go. Really embrace this opportunity to just be and trust that the pose will do the work you need. Take a final complete breath right here. And carefully release and unravel. And again, if you need to move a little bit, if you'd like to move a little bit, I'd encourage that. Just kind of work things out. From here now, we'll end, of course, in final Shavasana, final rest pose. So as you set this up, I'm going to recommend sliding some of your props under the backs of the legs. Again, a bolster if you're using it, or whatever else you've kind of found around, as has been the case through the whole sequence. If you have a blanket available, I'm also going to recommend parking that over the top of the hips here, or covering more of your body if you need that for a bit of warmth. So I know with these YouTube yoga classes, it can be so tempting to skip Shavasana, just kind of end. But especially with our focus today, this kind of calming and balancing the nervous system, this is maybe the most important pose of the whole sequence. So give yourself this opportunity to just lay here. Give yourself this opportunity to just be still and quiet. And as we make that transition here, just one last time now, take a deep inhale breath through your nose. And open up your mouth as you exhale to let absolutely everything go. Let body and mind naturally rebalance over these final few minutes. So please take just the final few moments as you are here to tune back into the body, the breath. And as you feel your breath deepen slightly, start to integrate some small movements. And little by little from those movements, find your way onto your side and up into a comfortable seat with your eyes closed. So letting this be one last opportunity to notice everything that has shifted from your practice today. Take that all in for one last moment. And finally, from here, we'll end officially with a short offering of metta, loving kindness. I'll say just a few phrases, and if the meaning of these phrases creates a connection for you, consider repeating that phrase internally to deepen the connection. So we'll join the hands in front of the heart. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with ease and freedom from suffering. And may we dedicate our practice for the benefit of all beings. We bow. So thank you so very much, as always, for joining. And of course, if you have any observations, any thoughts or questions, do let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving me a like and consider subscribing to my channel so you can see more yoga practices like this each and every week. And a final thought, if you feel like doing more work on the mind, calming your nervous system, I might recommend checking out this guided meditation right over here.